Hello, how are you? My name is Jonathan Sutera. I've recently been added to the Bonita Bay team here as your Director of Instruction. And today I want to talk a lot about your path so we can understand why does the ball hook and why does the ball slice. So many golfers, they come to me and they ask me, what can I do to become more consistent? So most of you are very consistent, but it tends to be with a slice or with a hook. So we don't want to be that kind of consistent. We want to understand how we can fix our swing and understand why the ball does what it does. So when we as your teachers are not there beside you telling you, you've got to be able to understand why does my ball do what it does. So you're going to have a lot of clues after our time today, and we're going to tell you some ways you can figure out your own golf swing. It starts with just understanding your downswing path and where your path is going to be. I ask my golfers, as far as consistency, do you consistently have the same downswing path every time? And they look at me pretty cross-eyed and they wonder what in the world I'm talking about. So let me tell you a little about the path itself when we talk about the downswing. So as you can see, I've set a target line with a alignment stick in front of us too as our aiming point. What I'd like to see golfers do is I'd like to have you understand when you get to the top of the golf swing, we get a nice big turn. We'll talk about that more in the season. But when we get to the top of the swing, how do we know if our path should be inside to out, outside to in, or straight? As a matter of fact, what does that look like? What is inside to out? So we get to the top of the swing. Inside to out is when the club comes from your right pocket as a right-handed golfer and works out towards, let's call it first base side. When we get to the top of the swing, if your path changes and it goes from the outside, it's going to the third base side. It's going across us. And of course, when we come through on a straight path, that's when everything's coming through nice and straight towards our target line. So there's a lot of people that don't understand what changes your path and which path we should have. So last week I had somebody ask me, what path is the correct path? And I told them, all of them. It really comes down to knowing which one we're going to have. So for instance, if you're going to have an inside to out path, again, that's the path that travels from your right pocket and works towards the first base side. Let's try to have that same path every time. From there, we'll understand other things and what we can do with the club face, and I'll explain that in a moment. What's wrong with an outside in path? Well, if you want, you're welcome to ask Lee Trevino. You know, he played pretty much his whole career with an outside in path. And I don't know about you, but I'm not going to go up to him and tell him he had the wrong path. So there's some things that, you know, people say is wrong. That outside in path, it slices the ball and it's the wrong path. Well, I think he predicted pretty well where his ball was going to go, and he kind of knew how to find his golf ball all the time. He won a few events doing that. So for us, we're going to help you identify that. But here's the important part. When we get to the top of the swing, again, we've got a wonderful turn. Should we start with the hips first? Oh, wait a second. That just changed my path. Now my path is working from the outside to the inside. Should I start with the arms first? Oh, that's what encourages the path to be more inside out. So as you can see, you've heard all kinds of different instruction on what should move first from the top of the swing. And I agree with all of them. I just want to make sure I know which one's coming. So I'm going to hit a shot for you here. As you'll see, I'm going to start with the body first, and you're going to see from there, I won't know exactly what to do with the club face, you know, just by the path. So we're going to talk about the club face with the relationship of the path itself. But I'm going to start with the body first, and let's see what happens. So as you can see, my path was outside to in, and my golf ball actually turned to the right. Okay? So here's the thing. You all want to become more consistent. Do you know what your path is? I have a feeling everybody can do the 3 different paths at 3 different times, and they don't know which one's coming. That gives us a problem. That gives us a real problem. So for instance, we're going to get you to the point where you're on the range. You're going to know for sure, if your path is inside, working outside, what should I then do with the club face? Well, it looks like my club face is very open unless I close it. So we'll teach you down the road this season how we close that path a little bit, or that club face as well. Or if your path is outside moving inside, I'm going to try to leave that club face a little bit open. And if my club is coming through straight, I'm going to try to keep my club face as square or as straight as I can towards my target. These are the things that we have to know, but it's all based on knowing what your downswing path is. So Why are you not consistent? I have a feeling you might have to question what your downswing path is. And do you have the sometimes program going? Is it sometimes inside to out? Is it sometimes outside to in? Or is it sometimes straight? So as you can see, these are things we have to know before we know what we should do with the club face. And like you have experienced, I'm sure, sometimes you leave that club face open and the ball curves to the right. So somebody says you've got to close the club face. But what they didn't see was your path was going to go outside to inside. So all of a sudden you close your club face, now your ball starts left and goes more left. Should I close it? Should I leave it open? I really don't know what to do. So these are problems that we have on the golf course, but this is a big part of why we're not as consistent as we should be. So wrapping this up, understanding your downswing path is going to be vital. There's a lot that goes into a good downswing path, but a good tempo, a good turn in the backswing, and then from there realizing, do I start with the body first? If so, I better leave the club face a bit open. Do I start with the arms and club first? If so, I better make sure I close the club face. Those are the different ways that we know how to hit that golf ball on a straighter and more consistent ball flight. So if I put it all together, I should see this ball come off pretty straight to this the alignment stick in front of me here. So we're going to try to get everything coming through together. See, it came through nice and straight. My ball flight was where I needed it to be. And this is going to help you as you move forward, trying to become more consistent as golfers. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to teach you about the path today in the club face. If you're not sure what your downswing path is, we are glad as your golf staff to help you figure that out. We have wonderful camera equipment and things that will absolutely help you see so you know what you can do to improve your golf swing and become that much more consistent. Thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll see you all soon. Feel free to contact us at your convenience.